fly Fluent. To little first class like Fluent.
It says with Haley, but
no H boogie again. No H boogie again. It's just
you and me. Just Fluent. It's just Fluent. I feel like I should change. You know what? You think you can hold it? You think you can hold this down for about 30 minutes?
I got us covered, Tony Tone. You know what it is.
You know, I'm gonna leave you here just with the with the take a light but take it. Call your mother. There's more shirts coming, by the way. You got Hoopstorians. That's a good show. We got Next. That's that Paul McKeskey. We got this is gonna be so much merch. Okay, but let me leave you alone with Jay for me. I'll leave you alone.
I got it covered. I got y'all covered. No doubt about it. I got y'all covered. So check it out. My man Tony Tone had to step away for a minute. As you know, we are Fluent and Chill. You know me. I'm Chill, which is short for Chill Town. It is not short for chill because it gets wild around here. It gets super wild. But the playmaker Haley, the lovely playmaker Haley, she had a prior engagement, so she couldn't make it this week. But she will be back soon. She will be back in effect. But we've been talking lately, right? We've been talking lately about the playoffs, and the good thing about the playoffs is it's so unpredictable. Like the stuff that's going on in the playoffs, it's just so unpredictable. And I know for a fact that things that I think are going to happen are not going to happen. And Araton, you could talk that Tatum train thing all you want. I don't care. I'm down with Jason Tatum. That's my guy. So no doubt about it. But we are in effect. As you can see, I'm Chill. It's my man Tony Tone, aka Fluent.
Now you're more fluent.
We in effect. You know what it is.
Oh, there we go. That feels much better. That feels much better.
You know what it is. This is us.
Ooh. There we go. I don't know what I missed, but we have I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 headlines. 9 headlines that we need to talk about. But the biggest one of all, which isn't in those 9, is what I've been hearing on TikTok all day.
Which is?
What's up with Chill's fresh new look?
Oh. What's going on, B? I just got a haircut. That's all.
It's a little.
I just got a haircut and clean myself up a little bit. You know,
like 10 years younger.
I did a little something. You know, got myself a haircut and clean myself up a little bit. I'll do it more often. The reason why I don't keep it this close, Tone, to be quite honest with you, because not just maintenance, but it's exactly what you just said, Tone. I look like I'm 35, and I'm not.
You want to look old?
No, I just don't. Here's the thing, Tone.
Or not old, older.
Right. The problem that I have is I don't want to attract that kind of crowd. I don't. And I don't want to look like I'm trying to attract that kind of crowd. Don't get me wrong. I do what I can to keep myself in shape. I do what I can. But I don't want to attract that kind of crowd to make it look like, I'm trying to look younger. I'm trying to be 30 years old. I'm trying to be 35. I'm I'm not. I'm an older dude. Now.
So pause right there. Pause right there. So a lot of people, because now you reminded me of something. I want to share this story real quick, because as you know, we started doing this kind of during COVID. So we were doing it just like at that time, we weren't getting together like we've gotten together in person, but back then we didn't. And the way that my setup is with my headphones and the way I'm here, you can't tell what's going on with this. And we were sitting in a meeting. And Jay said, "I'm not trying to be these young dudes with the man buns." And I went like this.
You literally had a man bun. Tone literally had a man bun at the time.
And then I went and cut it off just because of that. Just because of that.
Oh my God.
Do you remember that?
I do.
I
I
was
remember like it was
you
yesterday.
never noticed. I was just like, yo.
I remember that like it was yesterday. Tone said that.
Because when I sit here like this, you couldn't tell, right? It was just
Right. It looked like that right there. He put his head down and I seen the bun. I was like, I did not mean that. That's not what I meant.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's not what I meant.
I'm gonna kick this off with I want to start with like the least important story. So we'll try to go in order. This one I feel is the least important anyways. Because I don't know, or maybe it is important. I don't know. The Bulls are expected to re-sign DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
Is that the Bulls just doing nothing?
Okay, Tone. You are an advocate. You've said this to me more than once. In fact, you said this to me when we first started doing this. So you guys know that. So you guys out there know. Tone and I got together doing this in 2021. That's how far back me and Tone and I go. And one of the first things Tone told me when we first started doing this, when you fail fast.
And as you've learned since then, I truly live by that.
That's his motto. When you screw it up or when you fail, get off it quick. Do not hang around it. Do not try to fix it. You recognize that this is wrong. You screwed up whatever it was you were trying to do. Okay, let's move on from this now, right? Well, here's the problem that we're having. The problem that we're having is the Bulls are still trying to salvage this. They're still trying to salvage something that clearly has failed ridiculously. And what's the catalyst of this, Tone? The catalyst of this is when Lonzo Ball went down, because he was the linchpin to all of this. DeMar DeRozan plays on one wing. Zach LaVine plays on the other wing. You got your lead guard. You got your distributor. You got your defender. You got your guy who can knock down open shots. You got your box work in Vooch. You have and Lonzo Ball is the linchpin in this. When Lonzo Ball goes down, this whole thing goes to shambles. Why? Because now DeRozan has to move on to the ball. That's not his game. He's much better off the basketball. Zach LaVine is much better as a transition guy and a one-on-one guy. If you remember DeMar DeRozan's best years, even though he was having a great year with Lonzo Ball, his best years were with Kyle Lowry playing the two guard. Instead, he now has to move to playing on the ball. That's not his strength. Zach LaVine, that's not his strength. They got Lonzo because he was going to be the creator. He was going to be the table setter. He was going to be the guy when you got doubled, knocking down open shots. When he broke down, this whole thing broke down. 2 years later, where are we, Tone? We're in the play-in tournament. And what you're doing is you're shelling out money. In addition to you shelling out money, you're shelling out tickets. And what are you getting in return? I'm getting a play-in tournament. I'm not getting anything other than that. That's not helping. That's not helping me at all. And why are you still holding on to this thing? This team is not constructed to win. In the last 5 years, Tone, with the exception of that year when they were at one point a top 5 team before Lonzo got hurt, they've been in 9th place, 11th place, 12th place, 10th place, and 9th place. You might be the epitome of a mid-team. The epitome of that. But instead, what are you doing? We're going to re-sign DeMar DeRozan, who, by the way, Tone, I don't know if you know this, but I believe on opening night next season, he's going to be 35 years old. What are we doing moving forward?
Listen, someone in the comments said it's the Bulls doing Bulls things, which is exactly what that is. It's status quo. They feel they can get them on the cheap. And to your point, though, maybe they feel Kobe White is going to take that next step and take over that spot of Lonzo Ball with LaVine and DeMar on either wing of him, which, playing in the paint, except like, I don't think that's a good strategy. But that's the Bulls, right? It's they're not going to spend a lot of money.
Tone, you've said to me a bunch of different times.
I'm not saying DeMar's cheap. He's gonna command a good price. He's still a high quality player in this league.
Right.
I believe he is.
But you said to me, Tone, a bunch of different times when you talked about players playing one on the cheap, and you've also talked to me about how teams can transition. Right? You've talked to me about how teams can transition from going from this to this. All right. Well, you've also been an advocate to me about a jury. Is it a jury up in Toronto? Him not being one of the general manager in Toronto.
Oh yeah, Ujiri. Yeah, Masai Ujiri.
You've been an advocate that he's not what I think he is.
Yeah, he's not. He's not as good as you think. Yes.
Yeah, he's not as good as I think he is. So if that's true, if you're a general manager, the one thing that you, as a good general manager, that's why Danny Ainge is who he is, right? That's why Sam Presti who he is. The general manager used to be with the San Antonio Spurs with Pop. The reason why these guys are who they are is because we get a foundation. You get a franchise player, and you build around this guy. In the process of you building around this guy, Tone, you let the people know this is what we're doing. You don't try to sell them something that's not true. Yo, Kobe White is our guy. He's a piece to what we're doing. We're moving off of DeMar DeRozan. We're moving off of Vooch. We're moving off of Zach LaVine, and we're starting over. If that's true, the people in Chicago, which is a basketball city, by the way, Tone, like New York.
Now it is.
It's a basketball city. These people will get behind you if you let them know this is our guy, this is who we're building around, and this is what we're going to start with. They'll get behind you, just like anywhere else.
But you've said to me on many occasions, you can't let your best player, as sad as that is, you can't let your best player walk out the front door for nothing.
Not as a youngster, you can't, Tone. But at age 35 years old,
35, okay.
The reason why is because I feel like I've gotten everything that I'm going to get out of you. A prime example would be Jimmy Butler in Miami. Okay, so Jimmy Butler, they got him in the summer of 2020. He was 29 years old. In the 5 years that he's been there, he's been an All-Pro 3 times. He's been an All-League defender. They've been to the NBA Finals twice. They've been to the East Finals 3 times. On opening night, Tone, he's going to be 35 years old. How much more am I getting out of Jimmy Butler? I think I've gotten everything I'm going to get out of him, especially for the asking price he's asking for. I'm probably not going to get any more than what I'm already getting. Do I want to let him walk out the front door? At that age, it doesn't bother me nearly as much as it would if he was 30 years old. I would probably have to do something else. DeMar DeRozan, I'm not sure that if DeMar DeRozan is still under contract, right? DeMar DeRozan is still under contract. If there's something that I could get for him, definitely let's do it. But in terms of re-signing him, it's time to start over, yo. It is. It's definitely time to start over.
Okay, I'm like I said, I'm with you. But I don't know that they. My only concern is, do I trust Chicago to have answers? And that's where my problem lies. Is if you don't have an answer for what that future looks like, for what that rebuild looks like, for what players you're going to be targeting, you have to re-sign him. And from all I've seen since 1999,
which is what I was going to ask you, Tyler.
Since 1999, is that they don't know how to draft. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have a plan. They don't say, "Hey, we're going to let this guy walk because we're going to sign this guy." Now, some people will say, "Well, they had a star and there was an injury," and okay, fine, that definitely sets you back. But no one's ever going to tell you the Bulls aren't cheap, and the Bulls, even during their heyday. Let's be very, very clear here, guys. They got very, very lucky. They got very, very lucky. When you go back and people want to say Jerry Krause was this genius, like any GM, he made a lot of mistakes, and he got very lucky. You did not know. I guarantee, and you and I are old enough to remember, no one was talking about Scottie Pippen superstar.
Tone, I was actually at that draft, and I was like, who?
Who exactly?
I was
Okay,
like, who is that?
Horace Grant. People forget the year before Scottie Pippen. Do you know who they selected 13th?
I believe it was Charles Oakley. No, Charles Oakley came. Charles Oakley was the year before that. In 86.
Yeah,
because Oakley showed up in 85.
uh-huh.
In 86, I don't remember who they took in 86. I don't.
You wouldn't, because he played about 15 seconds in the league. His name was Keith Lee.
Keith Lee.
Do you know who was drafted right after him?
The mailman.
Karl Malone. Well, let's not pretend like, that's why I say it's easy to say when things turned out, right? Like Masai, you brought up Masai earlier. Yeah, it turned out because they won a chip.
Right.
But with those knees, he could also missed 75 games and he would have looked like a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a lot of luck that comes into a lot of luck that goes into some of this. So, anyways, so that's way too much time on the Bulls. Next,
we shouldn't talk about the Bulls nearly as much as we do.
We're moving to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Is this old? No, this is tonight. Is it tonight or tomorrow? When's game 5?
It's on right now.
Right now. Yeah.
It's
no,
8
o'clock. Oh, yeah, it's past 8 o'clock.
It's on right
OG
now.
Anunoby will miss game 5 against the Pacers due to his hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm.
Is that that's it? Like the Knicks are a ragtag injured bunch, and don't talk about what you want to talk about yet, because that's the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk about the OG Anunoby injury.
I don't feel like, Tone, I don't feel like they could beat Indiana without him. He gives them a dynamic that they don't have. He gives them another wing scorer. He gives them a wing defender. He gives them another dirty work guy. He gives them that one thing, that other thing that they don't have, that can relieve what Brunson does, right? That can also relieve what Josh Hart does. He can give them that. And the fact that they don't have him, I'm not sure if they can win this series. I don't think that they can. No.
Jalen Brunson can only score, 40, 45 points. He cannot score 109, and he cannot defend everybody on the court. You need OG Anunobys. I know he's already been ruled out for the series, but you need Mitchell Robinsons. You need all these guys because, the alternative is Jalen Brunson scoring 100 and Josh Hart grabbing, 40 rebounds.
Right.
Can't work. So I hate to say that I end up getting the pick right, having picked Indiana, but not for the right reasons. So yeah, I think you're right. I think OG Anunoby being out, it's a killer for them.
Which is interesting too, Tone, because we actually had a conversation today, and the conversation about Indiana, which without OG, I don't think they can win this series. But we actually had an interesting conversation, which I posed the question to you, Tone. Is it ridiculous to think that Indiana could win the NBA championship?
Okay, hear me out.
Uh-oh.
Hear me out.
Uh-oh.
I'm not picking them because I think I'm more and more, even though I've picked Minnesota and, when they were up 2-0, they looked really good. And we're going to talk about that later. Yeah. Denver obviously did what, you thought they were done. You thought they were getting swept.
I thought the series was over. I did.
They're right back in. And so I'll stick to what I said. I picked Minnesota to win it all.
Yeah. Got
to defeat the champ, though. So if Minnesota doesn't do it, OKC or Dallas is going to have to do it. And if OKC or Dallas doesn't do it, whoever comes out of the East is going to have to do it. At some point, someone's going to have to beat Denver.
Right.
Being said, we've all said multiple times, this might be just Boston's year. Like, there's just sometimes it's their year. So I don't see anybody else coming out of the East except Boston.
However,
I love having these conversations.
However,
Indiana got a bunch of injuries in round 1. Dame and Dame and Giannis.
Your countryman.
My countryman, my man. Round 2, even Brunson, who's been there, missed some time during a game. Mitchell Robinson out. OG Anunoby out. Flooded with injuries. They go into the 3rd round. Porzingis is already hurting a little bit, right?
I think he's done for the playoffs, Stone, to be honest with you. I think he's done for the playoffs.
And you know what? That was remember when they got him and everyone said, "Oh," and I said, "Yeah, but can he play the whole season without getting hurt?" I don't want anyone to get hurt, but Boston's another rolled ankle of, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Brown, any one of those guys, if they're even, a little bit. Indiana now goes through this, oh, hey, they got the easiest of every matchup. They still play fast enough. They can score enough points. There's nothing to say Boston doesn't fall in love with the three, shoots 13% from long range, and Indiana runs up.
God.
Like, you've seen these games, so they can full of games, and now you've got the Pacers in the NBA final. Can they win it? Well, it depends. If they're playing a team like OKC or Minnesota, who's never been there, OKC who's super young, and they're just running at 100 miles an hour, those other teams can turn over the ball with the best of them. So is it probable? No. Is it possible?
Yeah.
In the words of KG, it's possible. Anything is possible.
Oh my God.
If this Indiana team,
I'd have to, you know what? Next season, I have to not watch the first month. If Indiana, I couldn't. I'd have to take a break from basketball. If
anybody tells you, to your point, Tone, you're talking about the Indiana Pacers possibly winning an NBA championship. If anybody told you before the season started, I got the Indiana Pacers beating whoever it is in the NBA Finals and winning the NBA championship, and they were serious,
you're nuts. You're nuts. Oh,
you're not. There's no way you thought y'all was winning the NBA championship.
Or hardcore Pacers fan would not have told you that. Because look at that opening day roster. Halliburton, Miles Turner, who over the offseason wasn't even going to be on the team.
Right.
Like this wasn't Buddy Hield was still on the team. Like there was this wasn't a roster you're like, hey, yeah, they're going to be fun to watch. They're going to score a lot of points. I think we all said that. Win? With that style of play?
They weren't even one. They were the worst defense in the league. That's number one. They were at the bottom of the league in defense, and they were one of the worst rebounding teams. Still in the playoffs, they're still one of the worst rebounding teams all year long. So now what you're telling me is we now have a team that was all of this all year long that has a possibility of getting to the NBA championship and winning it. That tells me right there, Tone. Number one, the cause and effect is off. The earth may very well be flat. The earth may very well be flat.
I've been telling you that for years.
The earth may very well be flat. There's no reason for me to think it's not. If the Indiana Pacers are winning the NBA championship, there's no reason for me to think that cause and effect doesn't make sense. And the earth, there's no reason for me not to believe any of this stuff. None whatsoever. None.
But is the reason the Knicks are all breaking down what your boy Chandler Parsons says?
Yep.
He blames Coach Tibbs. This is why that players poll came out with guys that don't want to play for Tibbs, because it doesn't last. You can't sustain it in such a long season.
Well,
does Tibbs the knock against Tibbs has always been, right? One, he wouldn't change, but we started to see change this year, but that he plays his guys too many minutes, he plays them hard, and he plays them, his rotations are too short and all those types of things. Is it just unlucky coincidence, or is Tibbs to blame?
Tony, in some instances, and I don't know if you heard me earlier today, I actually made a post about this. In some instances, Tibbs has been hard on his guys. But this particular instance, no, this is not the same thing. So I'll start the conversation, Tone, and I'm sure you heard me say this earlier today, and I'll repeat it. So 3 of his 5 starters, Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby, and Julius Randle, are out the lineup. That's 60% of my starting 5 are out the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll start with OG Anunoby, who had a hamstring injury. Well, he had an injury earlier this year with an elbow. So he was out of the lineup. That had nothing to do with Tibbs. He had this hamstring injury, which could have happened to anybody, not just him. Anybody could have pulled up lame. It's not like
for the last little bit, even when he's on Toronto, OG's had a few. He's been suffering through some nagging injuries. So yes,
that's
yes.
That's where I was going with that too. He has been injury prone of late. That's number one. That had nothing to do with Tibbs. Julius Randle tore his shoulder up. That had nothing to do with Tibbs. Now, if you let some people tell it, well, he was in a game that I think they were playing the Heat and they were up 12 with like 4 minutes. Tone, is a 12-point lead with 4 minutes safe in the NBA?
A 22-point lead with 4 minutes left isn't safe in this.
Sorry,
NBA.
it's not. It is not. So that had nothing to do with Tibbs. He had his starters in. I think it was the Heat that they were playing. They had their starters in. That had nothing to do with Tibbs. Mitchell Robinson, he's been out most of the year.
Yeah, he was out most of the year, and he came back. Maybe he came back too soon. But
yes, I think he did, Tone. I do. I think he did come back too soon. He was out most of the year with a foot injury. So with this foot injury, he's out. Now what I wanted to do, Tone, I want to get these guys back in the lineup. So now we got OG Anunoby, we got Julius Randle, we got Mitchell Robinson, we got DiVincenzo, and we got Brunson back in the lineup. So now that means Josh Hart is a rotation guy now, because this is what I get to pick from. Josh Hart is now a rotation guy. Hartenstein is now a rotation guy. Miles McBride is now a rotation guy. Precious Achiuwa is now a rotation guy. Who am I missing? Alec Burke is now a rotation guy. Bojan, who they traded for to Detroit, who also got hurt, which also had nothing to do with Tibbs, he's now a rotation guy. Tone, that's 10 guys I have. 5 extra guys. But instead, you know who I have to pick from now, Tone? I have Alec Burke. I got Miles Bridges. I got Jericho Sims. I got Shake Milton. Yes, I got Shake Milton. And this is who I have to. And Precious Achiuwa.
Precious Achiuwa. I like Precious Achiuwa.
I do too.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Once again, Tone, Precious Achiuwa, Miles.
Hartenstein. What at the 5 you got Hartenstein and Luke Kennard, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. His cupboard, Tibbs' cupboard is bare, Tone. There's no food in it. I basically got to go with what I got in the refrigerator, and I got to make it work. Now what you're going to try to sell me is, if he had those guys, he still wouldn't shorten his rotation. He still wouldn't expand his rotation. Josh Hart is not playing 48 minutes. Knock it off. That is not happening.
Yeah, no, but he might play 42.
He is not playing that much. Julius Randle is going to play more. Mitchell Robinson is going to play more. Hartenstein is not going to have to play as much. Miles McBride is not going to have to play as much. Precious Achiuwa, Bojan, all of these guys are going to get minutes because Tibbs now has more to choose from, as opposed he can't play Shake Milton.
No, but he can start to adjust. He probably still has a short rotation, but in certain situations, right, he can at least tweak and adjust and say, hey, you know what? There might be an instance where Shake makes sense for these 4 minutes. I don't know how that ever happens, but perhaps, or whoever it happens to be. Precious, hey, in a smaller lineup, Precious playing a few extra minutes at the 5 versus one of the other guys because of his, he's got some versatility defensively. Right. Okay, that might make sense, right? But when you don't have the option and you got to play the guys 48 minutes, 27 minutes, that's when it's tough to coach a team. It's tough to make some delicious dinner when you're missing half of the vegetables or half the ingredients. Excuse me.
Half the ingredients I don't have now. Tone, remember, Tibbs comes from a different cloth. He's cut from a different cloth. He was on that Boston Celtic roster when they won the NBA championship. Doc Rivers dug deep into his bench. Tibbs, on the other hand, he's had guys where he's able to play them, and he hasn't. But I feel like in this NBA, you can't play guys as much, especially when you have that kind of rotation. And I feel like he would have dug deeper into his bench, but he didn't have that all year. So I want to put some context on it. Sure, there's some truth.
I don't necessarily put it all on Tibbs. However, let me first address Max, because Max is am I tripping? Or wasn't the poll about coaches they want to play for? No, Max. Well, yes, there was a question about coaches they want to play for, but there was also another question of coaches they don't want to play for, and Tibbs was number 1 on that list. But listen, they don't want to play with him because he holds players accountable. He pushes players to play hard. He pushes players to play defense. He makes them play, and that's not kind of today's NBA that most players are used to or want to do. That doesn't make him a bad coach, but it's a different style of coach that you got to be able to handle, right? There's only certain players that can handle Tibbs. All right, we're going to go a little bit younger this time. Victor Wembanyama.
Mm-hmm.
Victor Wembanyama is intrigued with the idea of playing with Trey Young. Now, obviously, some stuff is changing in Atlanta. We're gonna Trey Young to the Spurs.
Mm-hmm. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I feel like him having a distributor like Trey Young, him having a playmaker like Trey Young, a scorer like Trey Young, who actually needs a guy, a rim protector, and a defender behind him like Wembanyama to clean up his mess. I think that would help him. Here's the $1 million question, though, Tone. Is Trey Young the answer moving forward, or is he just something for right now? Because I personally think Victor Wembanyama at 20 years old, I think your point guard is in the draft. He might not be in this draft. He might be in this draft because if you think about how quote-unquote weak this draft is, this is the kind of draft where we find out how good these GMs are. We find out who's doing their homework, who's not, who's just picking people. There's some people, I'm 100% confident in this, Tone, that when Anthony Bennett got drafted by Cleveland, of the people in that room that was saying this was our guy, there's somebody in that room going, this is a mistake. This is not a good idea. Nope, this is not our guy. The good GMs, you know what they do, Tone? Instead of listening to all the yes people, they go to that one guy going, what's the problem here? What are you not, what don't you see in this guy? Something's wrong here. And I want to know from you why this guy isn't our guy. And I need you to
watch Draft Day. Did you watch Draft Day with Kevin Costner?
I saw a little bit of it. I actually need to watch that movie.
You need to watch that. Bo Callahan. He's like, everyone's got him first, but there's something wrong with him. Figure it out. Figure out what's wrong with him before we draft him first overall. And they did, luckily, because it's a movie. Yeah. But I'll go back to what I said earlier, though. This is the draft where GMs are made and lost. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is luck. Because when you look at that Anthony Bennett and we can give a ton of examples, but you look at that Anthony Bennett draft. Was he the best player in the draft? No. Was he a surefire miss? No, because if you look at him at UNLV, he was doing a lot of good things. And what you can't do is draft based on need. You can't, like, if the best player in the draft,
why though, Tone? That's my question to you. Why? Why can't I draft what I need instead of the best player? Why can't I do that?
I'm about to tell you, because if you need a power forward, and the best power forward is projected on your board, forget everybody else's, right? 20th, then you are drafting a player at 1 and putting expectations on that player that they're never going to live up to.
Right.
You got a LeBron James. No, forget that. You have Eddie Jones, an all-star shooting guard.
Yep.
You're sitting at the 13th pick. You got to make a trade, but you're sitting at the 13th pick and you can get Kobe Bryant. You don't say to yourself, guys, we have a shooting guard. Let's take whoever was next in the Kerry Kittles or whatever the draft pick that could have been, because he's a small forward and he would suit better. No, this player is significantly better. So when I look at that draft, I see, hey, they wanted this type of player. And they went out and they reached for him. And that's a mistake, right? Like, it happens. Look at all the bad number 1 picks, right? Even other picks. Oh, we're going with Sam Bowie because you know what? We have Clyde Drexler. We need a big. No. You draft Michael Jordan, right? We're drafting Andrea Bargnani, because the GM is Italian, Brian Colangelo, and he wants to draft the best Italian player, even though he's probably going to be there. You could draft into the later part of the first round, probably even get him in the second round, and because no one knows who the hell he is.
Right.
I'm going to pick on Masai Ujiri again a little bit. Masai drafting Bruno Coloco. Why? Oh, he's built like Kevin Durant. He could be the next Kevin Durant, and I missed out on Giannis. No, there were so many better players available, and so that's why you if there's two guys that are close,
Right.
fine, right? Okay, there's two guys that we rank 1A, 1B, and we need a center, and there's a point guard and a center. Okay, fine. You got them 1A, 1B, take the center. But if you got them 1 and 10, and you need 10, but you got that 1, you can't. You can, but you're going to end up drafting Anthony Bennett when you do that.
Well, Tone, let's rewind a little bit, because you just mentioned you said something really interesting when you talked about I need a power forward. I got the number 1 overall pick, and I need a power forward. And the best 4-man who actually fits what I'm trying to do is at 20. I don't really like him at number 1, but I like him at number 7. That's where the GMing comes in.
Yeah, trade down. Yeah.
Danny Ainge is a prime example of that. When Danny Ainge in 2017 told everybody that Markelle Fultz was his guy. Where did he get that from? He got that from Red Auerbach. He told everybody that Joe Barry Carroll was his guy. No, he wasn't. Kevin McHale was his guy. Everybody, and he knew that. Well, Danny Ainge told everybody he loves Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz was the consensus number 1 overall pick. Immediately, everybody's thinking, because Danny Ainge has been around for such a long time and he knows what he knows, the first thing they're thinking is, well, what do you know about this kid that we don't know? Well, you like him? Even though Jason Tatum was his guy from the beginning. He wanted Jason Tatum. He just didn't like him at number 1. He liked him more at number 3. To your point, Tone, if I like this guy, if I got the number 1 overall pick and I got Anthony Bennett is on the board, I don't like Anthony Bennett at number 1. Maybe I like Anthony Bennett at number 7 as opposed to number 1, because the expectations of a number 1 overall pick are completely different than the number 7 pick. And the money is different too. So if I'm doing that, that's something huge. That's where GMing comes in. That's when you understand how GMing works. So I don't subscribe to the logic of you got to take the best player. Tone, I know that you're going off of what happened already.
If you're going to draft, you draft the best player. You don't draft the wrong player.
Right.
But right. His third option is you trade down. Of course, yes.
Sure. And Tone, you going off of what's going on right now. I definitely understand it. You're going off what's going on right now. But in 1984, with the number 2 pick, Tone, we already had a 2 guard, and he was pretty good. We didn't know Jordan was going to turn out to be this. It was a big man league. We already had a 2 guard who was awesome. Did we know that he was going to be this good? No, we didn't know that. We knew that this was a big man league.
Draft Jordan for the 1.
We even though a pretty prominent coach said, I need a center, that the general manager told him he needed a center. He told him, play Jordan at center, but draft Jordan. No. He said, play Jordan at center. It don't make a difference. Play Jordan. You need Jordan on your crew. Point I'm trying to make, Tone, is
listen. You should watch that movie Draft Day.
I will.
Because the GM wrote himself a note. He said, no matter what you do, draft Vontae Mack. So when it was time for him to make the first overall pick or whatever, he looked at his little note that he wrote himself.
No
I don't care what I need. You draft him.
I don't care what's going on. Draft him.
Figure out the rest later. That's what trades are for, right? Like, again, if you take the best player, now you can, let's say you can't trade down, right. Take the best player and then figure it out after.
So, and I think that when I think about stuff like with Trey Young, I immediately think about GMing, and I think about the head scout for the Portland Trailblazers going to the general manager in 2010 and going, I found our point guard. Where is he? He's in Utah. Does he go to University of Utah? No. Where does he go to school at? He goes to Weber State. His name's Damian Lillard. And I'm going to keep an eye on this kid because I think this is our point guard for the next 12 years. Nobody's really paying attention to him. That's GMing. I feel like San Antonio, Tone, and I might be ridiculous with this, I think their point guard is in the draft. I don't think it's Trey Young.
The problem is, I'm not disagreeing. I'm going to give you an alternative, though, because at 25, coming up to 26 years old, Trey Young has 10 good years.
At least 7 or 8.
So if you can put in a point guard who's proven can score, can play make in this league, needs a big man, got one, and you can fast forward that progress versus waiting a year or two for the just imagine now you're thinking we're going to waste, because that's what it's going to be. We're going to waste 3 years of Vic.
Are we though, Tom?
If he's not in this draft, you've wasted his rookie season. You're going to waste year 2, waste year 3. So are you wasting it in the sense of you're not winning right now? Because the second Trey Young goes there, Pop's going to kind of probably step aside as coach. They're going to bring in someone. He's going to be kind of GMing, advising, kind of a la Jerry West. And they're going to bring in the pieces around those two guys and say, hey, when you have a Trey Young and a Vic, that's your 1-5. Here's what you need in the middle. I think they build that roster real quick, and they're boom, like that. They're a competitive, if not a competing team in the West. Or you can wait it out. I would, if I could listen, there's no one on that roster with the exception of Wembanyama that you're not going to give up. So depending on how many draft picks they want, and maybe Atlanta doesn't want, I don't know. I make that move. I try it because, to your point, I'm still going to draft that guy in a year or two. And if that person comes up, I have a great dilemma. Well, now I have this great Trey Young, multiple-time All-Star Trey Young. I've got his successor. Now I move him, and guess what? I'm going to get a real nice piece back.
I'm thinking about it from the money aspect too, Tone. And this is when GMing comes in, and when I'm looking at a guy who is going to pan out. Now, don't get me wrong. You just mentioned it. A lot of this comes in, and a lot of these guys have to be lucky. Sure, no question about that.
Just think about it. Let me throw you a curve. Let's say they think their guy in the draft, like Portland did, was Scoot Henderson.
Yep.
They draft him, and they get rid of Trey Young or Dame, and you didn't give him a chance to show you. Now what? Now how far back have you set your franchise?
Well, I don't know if we set our franchise back more than we're still building something. So if I'm looking at what Scoot is, like Scoot's going to get better next year.
I'm using him as an example.
Right, I understand that. And if I got a point guard like Scoot, where I ended up with the number 3 pick and I draft this kid and he's got growing pains, but I feel like he's going to get better playing with Wemby. I feel like he's going to get better. This is what I'm doing because what I'm doing, Tony, is I'm trying to build a unit. The Golden State Warriors did it. The Boston Celtics did it. The Golden State Warriors did it. What's up, young fella? The Golden State Warriors did it. The Boston Celtics did it. Let's see who else is building units. All of these teams that have been around for a while, they're building units, and because they're building units, they're sustainable. You've mentioned this to me more than once, more than twice, and I dig that. I feel like the era of the super team, and you throwing units and you throwing stars together, I think that's over, Tone. I think we're finished with that.
All right, let's ask our resident professional. You're the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah.
You've got Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
You can have one of two choices. You can wait and draft a point guard, or you can get Trey Young.
I'm drafting a point guard.
Why are you drafting a point guard?
Well, Trey Young, like
No, but forget why you draft.
Stop. Listen to my nephew over here. Let my nephew talk.
No, Trey Young. Like I'm not taking him because he's bad for the locker room and everyone hates him, and he's too selfish. And point guard that you draft, so he can like develop with Wemby.
What are we doing?
Get out of here.
What's happening? What's going on right now? Is he on the staff? Is he in my head? Is he been listening to me? What's going on here? What is my nephew telling me?
He can develop.
Exactly, that's what we're doing.
Well, go to bed.
It's my nephew, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't agree with the answer, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm impressed with the answer.
Hey man, my nephew know basketball, so what can I say?
Damn, good for it. All right. So let's move on to the next thing then. Because look, both are valid points. I wanna cut the line and get in front. You're gonna wait in line. So that's fair. That's fair. Both are legit. The Hawks are expected to take Alex Sarr with the number 1 overall pick. If there was ever a year that you didn't care about winning the draft, is this the
That's the thing, Tone.
And that's not a knock on him. That's not a knock on him.
Right. I don't know much about this kid. This is the French kid. Is that correct? I think he's like 7'1", something like that. Big kid. I don't really know much about him, but what I do know is this is the time when GM, because you got to do your homework. Because these are the drafts where a gem is found. These are the drafts. Tone, you are an advocate of saying to me, and I keep bringing him up, a jury. Tone, he got it right. He didn't get it right. Milwaukee got it right, but he saw what they were after. He saw it. He knew this is nobody. Tone, in 2013, I had no idea who Giannis Antetokounmpo was. No idea. But jury saw him, and he saw the future. Now, did Milwaukee think that he was going to turn out like that with that type of body? Was he going to turn out like that with that type of game? I mean, don't get me wrong, Tom. We're projecting here, and we want these guys to be good in terms of front office people. But do I potentially have one of the 5 best power forwards in the 77-year history of the NBA? I don't know that. I don't know that. But what I do know is I got a player. I do have a player, and that's the idea. Because I'm trying to keep my job as a GM, and a jury saw that. Milwaukee wasn't trying to hear it. They were like, "This is our guy." There's a point guard in this draft. There's a 2 guard in this draft. There's a forward in this draft that's going to get a GM an extension. But there's also a point guard in this draft. There's also a center in this draft that's going to get a GM fired. 100%.
I think there's a first overall pick in this draft that could get a GM fired.
Oh my God!
Because here's my fear. I don't know him that well. He played in France. How much ball did we watch from France? Very little, if any. Right. But he's a 7'1", 19-year-old from France. Mm-hmm. Who, don't forget, 19, he could still be growing.
Yes, he could.
he could still be growing. So he's 7'1" today. And they're looking at him as, is he like a Victor type, a Chet type? You know, like he's the 7'1" long. Yeah, that's what you remember you said to me, and I, fought with you a lot about, Victor and Chet. This is what the NBA is going to look like in a few years.
You hated it, Tom.
I hate it.
You hated it.
What happens is if there's people who think that way, they start to draft these kids too high, because if he goes 1, which he looks like he might, the expectations on him are going to be that of Wemby, 7'1" French kid. Right. He played in Australia. Okay, my bad. It says he's from France, but okay, if he played in Australia,
played in Australia, that's one thing. Is he French? That was all we asked. So relax.
Yeah, French. Let's either way. Now people are going to start reaching. Mm-hmm. They're going to start reaching for these guys, and I think it puts them in a difficult situation. So maybe next week we'll do a little mock drafting and see, because you're right, because you see the top. I don't know if you've seen a couple of the mocks. The first 2 players are both French. Zachariah Richer and Alex Sarr are projected. Who knows what's going to happen? Then you got Dalton. I can't say that name. Netch from Tennessee. Cody Williams from Colorado. Reed Shepherd. Like there's then you get into kind of, I think, the more known commodities for people in North America. Right. But this is the type of pick that can get you fired, because there's no not that there's no upside. That's the wrong thing to say. Right. But if he's the number 1 pick, he's got to be great or he's a bust, right, which isn't fair, because we've all agreed this draft doesn't have that transcendent kind of once in a generation type of player. We all agree on that.
No, yet we don't know yet, but it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it right now. But to your point, Tone, we just got finished talking about the Chicago Bulls and what their plan was. Well, the Atlanta Hawks we're in year 6 with Trey Young, and they are on the same trajectory as the Bulls, with the exception of that one year when they went to the East Finals. They've been a play-in team, and they've been a mid-team. So what's the plan moving forward with this team? And I'm asking you, Tone, because I'm thinking about what is the league today? Because you've been around for a long time. So in 1985, what was the league? We're building our team around what? Around
in
a
1995? Yeah, 5 man. Yeah.
1985, 1990. We're building our team around a 5-man. Today, I feel like, and I actually had this conversation. I had this conversation earlier. It seems like the league, in terms of what teams are building their unit around, it's that 6'8", 6'9" small forward, that wing guy. That's what it looks like, which way the league is going. So, if that's true, the Atlanta Hawks have the number 1 overall pick. Do you like this kid, Cat, at the number 1 overall pick? You probably don't like him there, right? So if Trey Young, who you're going to hold on to, who Atlanta, if you don't have any plans of getting off of him, what if you decide to now build for need? So if you decide, I'm going to trade down, and I love the big kid at UConn, and I'm going to upgrade at the 5 spot. I'm going to get a more defensive mind big man, a more of a lob threat, a more pick and dive guy, and I'm going to build around Trey Young and this kid, and I'm going to fill in the holes there. As opposed to, all right, I'm moving off Trey. I don't have a definitive number 1 pick, and I don't really know who I'm building my unit around.
Atlanta, it's funny. I think people are picking on Atlanta, but I think Atlanta is in a really unique situation where they can do a couple of different things. So they can just play it safe. We got the number 1 pick. We're going with Alex Sarr. He's a 7'1" dude that, fills a need, at that position that we have. But they also have the luxury of, hey, we have the first overall pick. We have some redundancy in the backcourt, right? They tried the DeJounte Murray, Trey Young thing. I don't think it worked the way people wanted it to work, especially in Atlanta. So I'm just throwing this name out there as an example. I'm not saying this is the trade, but it was something that someone said in the chat, so I'm going to use it because they've said it already. DeJounte Murray, the first overall pick, and others things to pair Joel Embiid with Trey Young. And that's not the trade. That's not the trade. The point is, if I want to go, superstar, add in a superstar, they've got pieces to make these moves. Maybe it is draft Sarr and trade Trey Young for a bunch of pieces to fill out the rest of the roster, and we're going to go with Murray. With DeJounte Murray and this young kid and build that. Like they have so many options that their war room should be going nuts right now on all the different scenarios because they've got and again, Joel Embiid that's not the one I'm saying. It's just someone that said it in the chat, but it's I'm not saying him. There's players out there that I think we're going to see a lot of movement this offseason.
Oh, and 100%.
Right, like we're seeing teams like built the right way, and people, it's a copycat league, so they're gonna say, "Oh, we should do it that way," and whatever plan they had is just gonna shift. And there's teams that got screwed a little bit, so they're going to be making. Toronto's a great example. They lost, they made all their trades. They got rid of they got rid of OG. They got rid of Pascal. Barnes gets hurt. They lose a bunch of games. They should have a top 5 pick that's theirs, because if it's outside of the top 5, it has to go to San Antonio. Let's not forget, because they fall so far in the draft to number 8, that pick's now San Antonio. So San Antonio now has a top 10 pick as well. Again, not a great draft, but for a team like San Antonio, for all the guys that we just said who draft poorly, San Antonio always finds these gems, right? They were the first ones to pick like some of the Euros and some of the, they find these guys out of nowhere and they're like, damn. So I'm not going to write them off either, that maybe you're right. Maybe it's not Trey Young. Maybe with Toronto's number 8 pick, maybe they know who the point guard of the future is already. Maybe it's him.
Don't forget, Tone, they got Tony Parker with the last pick in round 1. He wasn't a lottery pick. He was the last pick in round 1. They got Ginobili in the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, and to your point about a lot of movement, me and my buddy actually had a real good conversation about this. I call draft day check day. Whatever you want, come get it. Because after today, I'm tapped out. I don't have no more money. So come draft day, I just cashed my check. Whatever you're looking for, come get it. But after today, I don't have anything else left.
No, it's not canceled. We started here on this channel and we came back to this channel. The best show doesn't get canceled. Come on, Bruce.
No, it does not.
I'm sure that's for you because Ticket knows better. By the way, Ticket, I sent you a message on Telegram. You didn't reply, so actually, I'm going to take this right off. I might actually put you in timeout for a minute. All right, what was next? Oh, I wanted to bring this up. So we still got. Obviously, we're going to talk about TNT. We're going to talk about LeBron. We're going to talk about Nick Wright. But this isn't. When you bring this up, let me bring this up real quick and say something. What a world we live in. Because it's not that different for the entire playoffs, but this is just for the second round. We have a 6'4" shooting guard leading in points per game. We got a 7-foot center leading in assists. We got a 6'4" shooting guard leading this round in rebounds per game. You got a 6 foot something. 4. I don't think he's that tall. Point guard leading in blocks per game. And you got a slow-footed, no defensive talent on one leg, by the way. Luka leading in steals. You've got to love this NBA. Everything is topsy-turvy. Everything.
What is going on right now? I feel like this is the earth really flat.
I looked at the whole playoffs, and with the exception of Josh Hart being second in rebounds to Jokic for the entire playoffs, it's pretty much the same.
That doesn't even sound right, Tone, what you just said. I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Say what you just said again. Josh Hart, what?
He is second in rebounds per game for the entire playoffs, first in the second round of the playoffs. Look, he doubled 12 rebounds a game. I know it's only a couple of games, but still.
So he's second out behind Jokic. He's second.
For the entire playoffs so far, he is only behind Jokic for rebounds.
What is happening right now? And this is again, he is a glass cleaner. I think he was second on his team when he was in college. So this actually translated from college to the pros. I think he was second on his team at Villanova. He was in the top 10 in the Big East in rebounding. So it's not like this kind of just came out of nowhere. No, he's always been a big time rebounder, whether in college, now in the pros. Now, with that being said, Anthony Edwards doing what he's doing, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Jalen Brunson is second in the playoffs in scoring. Something like that.
Jalen Brunson is. This is just for round 2. Jalen Brunson is.
Yeah, he actually leads the playoffs in scoring.
Yeah.
So you got the playoff leader on your team in scoring. You got the second league leader in rebounds on your crew. Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. So this is not something that you're gonna see every day.
When I saw, and it's just when I saw it, I was like, I know it's only a few games into round 2, but I was like, that's crazy, because if you told me a 7-foot slow-footed center would be leading in assists and a 6 foot, and let's remember, so these two guys are listed at 6'4", but we know the truth, right? Like,
Hart is not 6'5". He's listed at 6'5". He ain't 6'5".
Listen, Bronny James just went to the combine. He was listed at 6'4" too, and he was like, "No, you're not."
Because of that hair. That's what it was, Tom. It was the hair.
Bro, you're 6'1".
Yes, that's the hair.
I found it interesting. I found it really interesting. And that's why I bring it up. Like I said, it wasn't a huge thing so much as it was like, it's topsy-turvy. I didn't believe it at first. I went and checked.
Yeah.
The next one is your boy, LeBron James. Could play 2 more years, 2 more seasons, and could end his career in year 23 as an homage to Michael Jordan, of course, with the All-Star game in Los Angeles.
That doesn't surprise me because I don't like when I hear people saying the ridiculousness of he's going to play 4 or 5 more years. This is actually how long I got him playing, Tone. I don't have him playing. I had him sticking around for another 2 years, 3 tops. I did not have him sticking around for no 4 or 5. I don't see LeBron James playing till 43, 44 years old. No, I had him sticking around 2, 3 more years tops, and then he was gone. No doubt about it.
How old is Bryce?
Bryce, I believe he's 3 years younger than Bronny. Bronny's 19. Bryce, I think he's
so he won't be around long enough to play with Bryce.
Yeah, I want to say he's 16. And I think he's going into the 11th grade this year. So with that being said, I'm not surprised about this at all. So the fact that that's why I don't think that he's moving. I think that he's going to end up re-signing with the Lakers. Are the Lakers going to draft James?
Yeah, I would say there's no way they don't.
I think that they would, to be honest with you, I think that they would do right by him more, considering James has been there for 6 years, 2 more years. That'll be 8 years he played there. I think that they would do right by him more than if he was in Portland. Because we already know why you drafted my kid if you're the Trailblazers. We know why you drafted my kid if you're Toronto. I know why you drafted my kid if you're Washington.
What if you're Cleveland?
I know exactly why you drafted my kid if you're Cleveland. So it's not even a question. Why you drafted him.
He was at the game.
Which,
him
again,
he going back to Cleveland. It's the thing you hate. You hate this idea.
I don't dislike it, Tom. I hate it because, first of all, we got this young group and we're on to something. And the old guy.
Are they onto something?
I feel like they're on to something. Absolutely. We've actually made an advancement this year. 2 years ago, we were in the play-in tournament. Last year, we were a top 5 seed, made the playoffs. This year, we're in the second round. Donovan Mitchell ends up getting hurt. We're probably going to lose to the Celtics. Now we build on that. Do not, James, I think we're good, sir. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't love you being here, but I feel like we're on to something. And you haven't been around long enough. It's not that you haven't been around long enough. I'll take that back.
What if Donovan Mitchell is out? He says, I'm out.
I'm already prepared for that, Tom, to be quite honest.
So he says, I'm out. Cleveland says, all right, well, we're going to draft Bronny, bring you and Pops home to play together. And the NBA finds a way, because the NBA will find a way.
Yes, they will.
And listen to what I'm saying. No, you haven't heard what I'm going to say yet. The NBA finds a way to do this. Excuse me, sir, Mr. Gilbert. We're going to make you a deal. We're going to give you a incredible deal. Like incredible. You should be paying $5 billion. We're going to give it to you for $2.5 billion. You're going to have the new team in Las Vegas, Nevada. And LeBron will be purchasing the Cavs.
No way. Oh my God. What? No way.
The kid from Akron comes home, buys the team. No, listen, he's either going to own the team in Vegas or the Cavs. So why not let him and his boy come back and just
I don't know, Tony. First of all, I think
you love that idea. You love that idea.
No, I don't. I hate it. Don't love it at all. I hate it. No, I do not. So first thing I'm thinking is James comes back to Cleveland, and now it's bad enough Darius Garland when it's bad enough Darius Garland when Donovan Mitchell showed up. That kind of set him back because he really didn't know exactly what he should be doing, what he shouldn't be doing, right? That kind of set him back. Now we're gonna lose that. We're gonna lose Donovan Mitchell, not in free agency, but because he still has 2 more years on his deal. He's up for an extension this summer. If he doesn't sign that extension, Tone, the very guy that we're talking about in LeBron James wrote the blueprint. When your star player does not sign an extension, what do?
You trade him.
Goodbye. See you later. We're not. We are not. We are not going to sit here on our hands and let you just walk out the front door for nothing. Absolutely not. We're not doing that. With that being said, so we're gonna trade Donovan Mitchell, and now Darius Garland, which was the original plan of Darius Garland, Mobley,
But because Garland and Mitchell don't work together. Mobley and Jared Allen don't work together.
Yes, they do. The problem is, they do. The problem is that these guys have been injured.
Work.
Yes, they do. Just like Rudy and Cat work in Minnesota.
Cat can shoot threes. Cat can stretch the floor. He can shoot threes. Mobley cannot do that.
Not yet. Not yet, Tone.
When is he going to learn to do that?
We're only in year 3, Tone. We ain't in year 8 or 9 like Cat is. We're in year 3. And he has. And we're
going to wait around to hopefully he develops the outside shot.
That's why you have young players, so you can develop them, Tone. That's exactly why. Because I took him with the number 2 overall pick. Obviously, as a defender, he's elite, and I think that he's going to continue that. I'm on record saying to you, Tone, I feel like him and Wemby are going to be the class of the front court defenders over the next.
I think you got one of them right.
I think those 2 guys are going to be the class of the defenders, or the class of the defenders in the front court. He's shown that he can knock down mid-range shots. He's shown that he can knock down the long ball. I've seen him do it. The question is can he be more consistent at it? That's the $1 million question. Can he be more consistent at it?
When I say someone can shoot, I mean can shoot. The consistency is a given. No, I don't care if you can shoot inconsistently. I don't give a crap. When I say when is he going to develop the ability to shoot, it's shoot consistently. It goes without saying. It goes without saying. He can shoot.
I think he can. I think you're making a mistake on giving up on this kid. I do. I think you're making a mistake.
No. I'm not giving up on him. Hold on. Let's be clear what I said. I said this team can't work when you have Mitchell and Darius who can't play together, and today Mobley and Allen who can't play together. You can't have 4 guys. You can't have 2 and 2 where they can't play together. If you have those 2 bigs, no problem. Your perimeter needs to be on point. If you have those two in the backcourt, then you need your bigs to be able to work together. You can't have 2 sets of players that can't play well together.
But
you can't.
Donovan Mitchell had a career. He had another career year alongside of Darius Garland.
No, if you look at their games, it was one would have a big game, the other wouldn't. Or if Mitchell was out, Garland had a good game. They were never clicking together. Like I'll tell you, they are this year what I thought Luka and Kyrie were going to be. Because I didn't think they'd figure it out. They figured it out how to play together. I don't think these 2 did. Now, does that mean they can't? Does it mean they can't learn how? No. But right now, today, you're putting a lot of faith in. You better figure out how to do it. And maybe you have that. Yeah,
I do. In Mobley, I do. If I can get Donovan Mitchell to resign, then I think we on to something. If he won't resign, I'm out, Tone. I'm moving off of him. I'm not holding on to him. I'm not.
Bring LeBron James back. All right, a couple of super chats, and then we'll go back to our headlines.
Yep.
I like this one. Are you familiar with the Montreal Screwjob?
I am not.
Can I tell you a brief history then?
Can you give me the skinny?
100%. Okay, so the Montreal Screwjob is a wrestling event that happened. So at the time, Bret the Hitman Hart, the pride of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, was the heavyweight champion of the WWE. I believe it was called WWF back then, but
yep, I'm listening to you, Tone.
All right.
Yes, I'm sorry, my plug.
So Bret Hart, his contract is coming up for his contract is coming up with the WWF. They can't agree. He decides he's going to go to WCW, their number 1 competitor. He tells Vince McMahon, "Hey, I don't want to lose my belt. Let me just, have this match. As you know, they have the outcomes already predetermined. We're going to have this match, and I'm going to beat Shawn Michaels, and then walk off into the sunset. We're all good." Well, Vince McMahon is like, "Ain't no way I'm going to allow the champion of my federation walk onto another show, my number one competitor, holding my heavyweight belt. No way. So he conspires with Shawn Michaels and Triple H and others that while the match is going on, they say, hey, this is the move I'm going to put you in. So Shawn Michaels puts him into hit this submission hold that he has called the sharpshooter. And the referee goes, ring the bell, ring the bell. Oh, he quit. He submitted. He's like, no, I didn't. And they call the match. Shawn Michaels win. He takes the belt. He, bolts out of there. Vince McMahon comes in. Bret Hart, for real, spits on his face. Apparently in the backstage, punches him in the face, like, because they screwed him. They said, yeah, you're going to win this match. And then as the match was going, they screwed him. Like the referee runs out of the ring. It was chaos. It was chaos. There are some rumors that Bret Hart knew about this, by the way. But from the
I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, so I didn't know anything about this.
This would have been, you wouldn't have been a kid. Probably in the 90s.
I wasn't on it as much as I was.
Yeah, we were 80s wrestling. Yeah, we liked the Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, and Andre the Giant. Yeah. So there's a whole documentary on it, and I'll tell you, you should watch it because it's interesting television. Forget whether you like wrestling or not. It's just everything that happened to lead up to this thing is actually pretty incredible.
Right.
That being said, our friend Sports BSB is asking the question, what are my thoughts on it? My thoughts are, as much as a proud Canadian that I am, and I don't like someone being screwed. If I'm the owner of a company, this is the way I'm looking at it. I own the company. Jay, you're leaving tomorrow, and you don't want to give me back all the patents. And you're going to our number one competitor and you're going to take all the patents with you. My answer to that is hell no.
Absolutely not. No way.
No chance in hell. So there's no way that I'm allowing you to take the heavyweight title from my company and walk into another company the next day. Like, this is Sunday. He's going on Monday to WCW and be like, yeah, I'm the champ. I left because that wrestling company sucks. No chance in hell. No chance in hell, which happens to be his song. No chance. But anyways, not happening. So I completely understand what they did and why they did it. They could have done it another way. They could have had someone run in and it was a disqualification and they steal the belt and they're like, oh my God, they've stolen the belt. There's other ways they could. But listen, it's 30 years later, we still talking about it. We still getting super chats about it. So I'd say it was quite brilliant. The documentary that I'm referring to is called Wrestling with Shadows. There you go. Wrestling with Shadows. All right. Next super chat. Thank you, Sports PSP. Have you guys done your top 10 forgotten players? Were we supposed to do our top 10 forgotten players?
I didn't know that was a thing, Tom. I did not know.
Okay, let's not do top 10 because we're not ready. We can put that on another show. I'll send it to Haley. But what do you think? A couple. Do you have a couple?
Top 10 forgotten players?
It's not top 10, but who are some of the forgotten players?
A couple of forgotten.
And I'm always curious, when you say forgotten, do you mean really great players that no one talks about anymore?
Right.
Or forgotten, there's no reason why you talk about them?
Right. There's plenty that I can think of. Adrian Dantley. I don't think people talk about Adrian Dantley nearly as much. Roy Tarpley. I don't think people talk about him as much as they should. Alex English. I don't think people talk about Alex English as much as they should. Forgotten players like Mark Price. I don't think people talk about Mark Price nearly as much as they should be talking about him.
Bama says we were talking about Jamal Murray, and we said we were going to do a top 10 forgotten players. I'm sure that was Haley's responsibility, Bama.
Right. It is hers.
I'll put it on hers. And she's not.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Because I'm thinking I don't know if Tony Styles from Hoopstorians, which will be coming on Sports Fluent YouTube here at 10 o'clock. He's I think Robert Pack is going to come on. So I think of guys like Robert Pack.
Oh.
I think of listen, I'll tell you one that no one wants to think about. And when I hear forgotten players, I always think of this. I always think of the bad players like Oliver Miller, Jean Tabak. Do you know who that is?
John Tabak. I don't know. That name should
center mid 90s. I think of those guys. I think of my guy Tony Delk, because I don't think anyone, and no one gives Tony Delk any love. Here's a dude that dropped 50.
He did drop 50.
Dropped 50.
Yes, he did.
The other problem was he had, when I did, I know him, but I brought him on to interview him because it's a different dynamic, as you know, when you know someone versus when you're talking to him here.
Sure.
I'm like, dude, like, why the heck? Like, 10 years in the league, dropped 50. I know what kind of player he was, right? I played with him. I know what kind of player he was. Just like, when you think of Roderick Rhodes, like, what kind of player he is, right? And I'm like, how did 10 teams in 10 years? How's that possible? And he's like, Tone, like, I just had this tradable contract. So if you look at all the trades, it was always like to make something else kind of work. And
he was the guy that you threw. He was the guy that you threw in the trade to make the money work,
because the money made sense. And it was like, damn. Cause I just think, that's one of those ones where, there's people who are not in the league who say politics, sometimes just getting a shot, being in the right place at the right time. There's a lot of things that, I've told you this before, to make it to the NBA, the odds are more likely that you'll get struck by lightning twice. Not once.
That doesn't even make sense, Tom.
Twice.
So I get struck by lightning, and I survived this.
Yes.
I survived getting struck by lightning, only to get struck by lightning again.
Could you imagine?
No.
Like, you wouldn't be going out to buy a lottery ticket. You'd be staying in your house. But I'm like, no, if you did that, you should go buy a lottery ticket. So yeah, you know what? We'll do that. I'll write it down. We'll do our most forgotten players. Absolutely. We haven't done that yet. We owe it to you. So we will do it. 69-54, by the way, Knicks somehow beating the Pacers at half.
Serving these dudes.
And how many points did I tell you Brunson needs to score for them to win? 40 something?
45, you said.
45. He has 28 at the half.
We're on our way to 45.
He's well on his way.
Yeah.
Sports PSP, rewind it to the beginning. We talk about Tibbs right at the beginning. I think we both agreed. I think we agree, right? Tibbs is getting a bit of a raw deal here. Yeah,
he is. Yes, he is. 100%.
He's definitely getting a raw deal. Thanks for the super chat, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
So okay, here's the next one. So this one is our headline. We got two more, but here's the one that is in the thumbnail, because this one's actually kind of sad. Bill Simmons says it's a fact. I'm not suggesting you have any inside information, although if you did, that'd be awesome. Inside NBA's future is in jeopardy as rumors heat up that NBC's purchased TNT's rights to the NBA games.
So
the best show. This is the best show on television. Period. I'm not even saying basketball. Just best show on television. Period. And TNT says, "Well, we don't need basketball." Okay.
Well, actually, we do need basketball. We just don't need these dudes. Because what we're doing is, as you know, Tone, and you grew up in hearing, you know what that sounds like on a Sunday afternoon. You know what that sounds like, and that's coming back. Right, that's coming back. With that being said, to have that and not have these guys, can you have basketball? Can you have this show without having basketball? What I mean when I say that, Tone, is the reason why these guys are as good as they are is because it's right after basketball. It's right before basketball. The NFL Network, it works because it's football. So we can't have these guys on TNT without basketball. I don't think that works. If we can have these guys on NBA TV, I think we can have these guys on NBA TV. I think that works.
Why don't they? NBC got money. Why doesn't NBC hire them?
But here's the problem that I think we're having with NBC. Are they moving? Who are they looking for in order to replace these guys? In order to replace these four guys, who are they looking for? Because this is where NBC not dropped the ball. This is where TNT dropped the ball, Tone. TNT dropped the ball because I didn't know this, but the guy who's brokering this deal with TNT and NBC, he used to work for TNT. So he goes over to NBC, and 3 years later, now NBC is now going to own the rights to broadcast NBA games. Well, this is something that's been in the works. This didn't just happen like a week or two ago.
No, of course not. No,
this has been in the works for years. So TNT, they screwed up because, one, this guy has inside information that he's given to NBC. We know how much money these guys make. We know how much money they're going to pitch to the NBA, and we know that they can't match this price.
Right.
We know that for a fact. So the question is will TNT match it? And if they don't, they're going to lose the NBA. And if they lose the NBA, does Ernie leave TNT, or does he stay on TNT? Does he still do baseball?
I think he stays. I think he's very loyal to TNT, and that might be part of the problem. Because what I heard was they need someone who's kind of can take the Chuck role. Mm-hmm. Vince Carter's going to take the Kenny Smith role. Draymond Green is going to take the Shaq role, and I'm going to be the host of a new NBA show.
There you go. There it is. There he is right here.
You want to be the Charles Barkley? You want to be the Charles Barkley?
I'm not the comic relief, though. See, Charles is necessary. Like Charles isn't somebody that you can replace. There's more people today, which I think is nuts to me that I'm still thinking about this. There's more people today that know Charles as he's the fat, funny guy on TV. That's who he is.
Oh, I know.
They don't know him as they don't know how awesome Charles was.
I posted a minute and a half of Chuck highlights, and the number one comment that kept being, I didn't know he was like that.
He's the fat, funny guy on TV now.
Some version of that sentence, like I didn't know Charles Barkley was like that, was the most common, and I'm like, what?
Yes, that's who he is now. He's the fat, funny guy. So when I think about Charles, when I think about Kenny, when I think about Shaq, and I think about Ernie, Tone, I completely agree with you. I mean, we fight about certain things, but I agree with you. This is the best basketball show on television.
Oh, yeah.
Inside the NBA is the best basketball show on television. And I feel like NBC, there's something that has to be figured out. Because I can tell you right now what can't happen. They can't go somewhere like to ESPN, because now what that does is that Stephen A. Smith dynamic, that kind of screws with that a little bit, because Shaq, Kenny, Charles, Stephen A. Smith, no, that doesn't work.
No, that doesn't work.
That doesn't work. So we can't have that. No more basketball on TNT. So I'm not feeling them just having a basketball show.
Are you watching anything? Are you watching anything on TNT right now?
No. Oh, I'm just the playoffs right now. But if there's no basketball on TNT,
if there's no basketball on TNT, are you watching anything on?
There's nothing that I'm watching on TNT except I might catch an old movie, but then I can end up I probably got it here, so I don't want to watch it on TNT. So I do not want to see these guys gone. Hell no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see these guys gone, because inside the NBA is, to your point, I think it's the best show on television. I think it's the best
100%. So TNT executives,
cocaine is a hell of a drug.
It must be.
Yes, it is.
All right. So if it is the end, salute to the TNT team, because that, man, like how many times there are times when I'm like, I'm just gonna watch that shit. I'm just gonna watch it.
Right.
Like it was more entertaining than a lot of the games that they were on. Remember we had Shaq on, and he was like in the backstage.
It was at halftime of a playoff game. I mean, not a playoff game. I'm sorry. It was at halftime of a game. He came on.
I was just like, dude, like that's what makes that show so, like, who would ever think? He's in the back, the back hallway there. You see all the like stuff, and I'm like, that's the type of crew that they have, that they would do stuff like that. I just thought I appreciate that shit.
I remember telling you, Tone. He told me he got 15 minutes. That's what he told me. He said, Tone, he's got 15 minutes. He's going to come on and he's going to give us some insight. And he said that's all he has. It's halftime of the game. He said he's got about 10 or 15 minutes, and I think I got him for about 10 or 15 minutes.
I thought you were going to say all he has is some insights.
Yes.
He got a lot of he just for the record, he got a lot of grief for those insights because I think one of them was the WNBA should move the rim down to 9
Lower
feet.
the rim. I was like, no.
Sarah, and then remember we had Sarah Spain on a couple weeks after that.
Yeah.
She's like, "What the hell?" Anyways, all right, the last topic, and then we can just talk more about the playoffs. We can invite some people on if I'll yell there in the chat if you want to jump on and speak your piece. Yeah, we'll do that too. I'll send it in right after we talk about Nick Wrong.
Oh boy.
Believes that there's 157 superstars in the NBA. So he came out with this. This is his club superstar. And he believes he has 12 or 13. I think I'll zoom in and show you them. Here's the guys that are in. Here's the guys that are waiting to get in, and here's the guys that are being kicked out. So let's start up at the top. Obviously, you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Anthony Edwards up here at the top. Makes sense. You've got Steph Curry, but Steph Curry, just so you know, is in the Cancun room, and they have a rule. And they have a rule if which means you didn't make the playoffs. If you're in the Cancun 2 years in a row, you're out. Kick you out of the club. So he's teetering. You've got Jokic down here. You got Embiid. This looks like maybe SGA. I might have to zoom in on some of these guys. That's SGA, Kevin Durant, Luka. There's Tatum going up the stairs. Jalen Brunson is in club superstar. Waiting outside is Victor. Jamal Murray, that's a surprise. Tyrese Maxey. I want to say is that Garland maybe?
That's Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell's not that. Okay, anyways. And Kyrie. So these guys are waiting outside. Who's been thrown out is interesting. Damian Lillard.
Literally tossed
by that was you and me, by the way, as bouncers, just FYI. Devin Booker and Jimmy Buckets are all out of club superstar. So what is your take here? Because if let me just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So half of the teams in the NBA have a superstar?
Mm-hmm. Half of them do.
That seems
at least one.
Sorry, only 11 because the Lakers have 2. Doesn't this really? We're not going to make this a debate, but doesn't this kill his GOAT debate that this guy has 2 superstars on his team and they can't get out of the first round?
That does.
That kind of hurts his argument, doesn't it?
It could be.
Because let's be clear, he doesn't have him on the second floor. He's got AD up here on the top floor.
He doesn't have a seat. He's kind of like peeking in. He's not actually in the room, Tone. He's kind of peeking like, what's going on in here? What's happening in here? We're not sure if he's in there.
LeBron just brought him in, maybe.
I mean, the fact that he's playing with a superstar.
It's like you when you went to Studio 54. You maybe just snuck in.
I did. Actually, I didn't sneak in. I actually had to pay to get in there, but I should not have been in there. I should. But
12 superstars too many?
Well, first of all, what we got to do, Tony, is we got to define what exactly is a superstar. And I think everybody has a different idea of what a superstar is. I feel like a superstar is somebody who embodies the organization. He's the best player on the team. He's marketable. His team is winning, and a lot of the reason why his team is winning is because of him. That I feel like, and he's everything that the NBA is about. So how many superstars do we have in the NBA? I think Anthony Edwards is on his way to superstardom. He ain't a superstar yet. I feel like Jalen Brunson is on his way to superstardom. I don't think he's a superstar yet. I think Curry's always going to be a superstar, no matter until he retires. James is always going to be a superstar until he retires. I feel like
I really don't like that, by the way.
I know. I know. I do know. But unfortunately, when I feel like guys who have that title and they've been playing at a high level, for such a long time, I feel like it's hard to relinquish that. So a guy like Steph Curry, who still, you can argue, a top 3-point guard in the league. And not only is he a top 3-point guard, he was an all-star. He's probably going to be an all-pro this year. It's difficult to take that superstar tag off of him. Don't get me wrong; they haven't won. They haven't won or made any deep runs into the playoffs. But I don't think you lose that after 1 year. I mean, they were in the playoffs last year. The year before that, they won an NBA championship. So I still think he's played at a superstar level. And because of that,
so KD swept out of the first round, still a superstar.
KD, the problem with KD is
Jalen Brunson. I agree with you. Jalen Brunson isn't there yet.
Right.
I honestly don't think Anthony Edwards is there yet.
Right.
Like he's proving it right now. Like he's going to be there.
Right.
SGA, I think again. You know me. I believe there's only ever maybe 2-3 superstars in the league at a time. I think there's a whole lot of stars.
Right.
There's budding superstars who are right in between. Right, like they're going to be there. I just like if we're dropping 12 superstars.
That's a lot, yo. I do feel like that's a lot, to be quite honest with you. I do. And like this guy Thibodeau said, Brunson is not there yet. Brunson hasn't even made the All-Pro team one time, and he a superstar. Never made the All-Pro team. Just made the All-Star team first time this year. And he a superstar. Give me a break, man.
No. Well, that's why I'm laughing. Like, look at like
you're not doing that.
Murray and Maxey waiting to get in.
Right.
We're not getting in.
Not yet, yo. Not
Murray,
yet.
I love Jamal Murray. He can't even get into the All-Star game.
Right. And you already heard
my rant about be a superstar that can't get into an All-Star game.
Right. And you already heard my rant about if Jamal Murray's a Hall of Famer, so is Ron Harper. You already heard how I feel about that. So I'm good on that. Right. I'm so straight on that. So
all right.
With that being said, I know we got different ideas, Tone, right? I know we all have different ideas of what a superstar actually is. But one of the things that I've always felt like it's a franchise player. I got to start there. I feel like a superstar is a guy.
The best player on the team that is going to be here for a long time, that we're going to build around, make playoff runs. You're the face of the franchise.
Yes.
That alone, I think, eliminates so many people. All right, we got some people popping up. You want to
because like you just mentioned, Tony, a guy like KD. I mean, if we're talking about KD moving again, that'll be his 4th team in 6 years.
Well, it'll be his 5th team.
So the Warriors in 19. So he gets on Brooklyn in 20. He stays in Brooklyn until last season. He stays in Brooklyn until last season. Now he's in Phoenix, and then if he leaves Phoenix, wherever he goes, that'll be 4 teams in 6 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's his 5th team for his career.
Right.
Like he's become more of a, I don't want to say a journeyman, because journeymen aren't at his level, but like a mercenary. He's like a hired gun.
I don't like it. I don't. What up?
Gentlemen, what's going on?
What up, Minor?
Not much. What's going on, Fluent?
Yep.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Going back to that previous topic about inside the NBA, a lot of people have been talking about this topic, and my biggest point was that if NBC seems like they're going to win the rights, they got to bring in a big name, because that power vacuum, by taking away inside the NBA and the public outrage is going to follow that, because people love inside the NBA. My mom watches inside the NBA.
Right.
So that tells you the universal appeal.
Yeah.
And she probably and Minor, she probably watch it. A big reason why she watching it, I bet it's for Chuck.
It is. It's for Chuck and Shaq.
I bet it's for Charles. Hell yes. So
I was kicking around names with a couple of my friends, and I came up with Dwayne Wade, Gilbert Arenas.
No.
And wait.
Okay.
Rachel Nichols as the EJ.
Okay.
And I think NBC is going to have to do what Fox did and try to get LeBron the same way Fox got Tom Brady. They're going to have to give him a huge contract and tell him, whenever you retire, we got a chair waiting for you. And it works out because the NBC studios are in LA. So he wouldn't have to leave his family. D-Wade already has a house there. Gilbert has a house there. I believe Rachel
He's
Nichols
from
probably.
there, actually. I think Gilbert Arenas is from there.
He's from LA. So it logistically it all works out. But if they don't do anything like that, I've heard things like bringing in YouTube content creators. No disrespect, guys, but that won't cut it.
Idea, then that's a great idea, Minor. I gotta send him our number. You couldn't imagine Chill doing an NBA NBC halftime show? Come on, man.
Chill's my guy, but man, they would be cursing and yelling at you. They would hate watch you.
I'm okay with hate watch.
Maybe because they would see me and they would see a different dude. Like I gotta put on a suit and I gotta do all of that stuff now. And I gotta cross my hands.
No, you can be like your guy. Your guy, Richard Jefferson. He wears like the suits with no t-shirt at all.
Yeah,
just the suit.
I gotta do that.
The suit jacket.
I'm a TV guy now. I mean, that's not to say that I couldn't pull it off, but there's some people that are made for network TV. Paul Pierce is not made for network TV. No,
not at all. He already had another slip up earlier this week.
He always has slip ups. My good friend, we had him on the show. Adam Rank told me, NFL Network, it's very acceptable to wear like the suit jacket, like with the hoodie underneath. I could rock that. I could rock that.
Right.
I could rock that.
The question that what we're doing with inside the NBA, Minor, is we're replacing one thing for something else.
Right? Correct.
Because now what we're doing is we're getting rid of something that's been so good. Kenny Smith has been on Inside the NBA for 22 years. Ernie's been on this for.
Has it been that long?
Yes, 22 years.
Damn.
Yes, he's been on it. He's been on it for 22 years. With that being said, now you add Shaq in like 2011. Which was 13 years ago. You had Charles, who came. I think Charles showed up in 2005. So that's been almost 20 years. When you add all of these guys, now you get that dynamic. Now we basically got to start over. We have to start over with something completely different. When this was the best show on television, now we're getting rid of it. It's like MASH going away.
But didn't they just win like some awards last year for the show?
Yes.
Do you guys have any idea who, in your opinion, who you would like to see kind of step into that role?
I don't want to see anybody step into that role, man. I want the crew to stay. That's what
but they can't.
They can't.
Chuck and Ernie are still under contract with TNT, so that's not going to happen. So NBC is going to have to, and that's why I said I joked and said I was taking the role of EJ. I'm not. But I think you're right. I think it will be one of the women sports people, whether it's Rachel Nichols or someone else who's going to be the host. I think more like a Draymond Green is more realistic than a LeBron, because LeBron has aspirations, I think to own it. I think Draymond Green's that guy. The host, let's keep Rachel Nichols. Okay. If Rachel Nichols is there, she's going to push real hard for one of her guys, Steven Jackson or
I don't think
they ain't gonna work. They not gonna work on NBC.
They're not gonna work.
They're not network TV. They're not.
That's why I don't think she's gonna work, because those were the dudes that like stood by her during all that stuff, right? So something like her, though, I agree with that. And then you're gonna need someone who's gonna be comic relief. So I don't know who has that personality to like Chuck that doesn't care what people think, is funny. Almost comes across as a little aloof, right? Like he plays up the, I come from Auburn, like who's going to play that up a little bit? I don't know who that person is.
I don't need. That's why I grabbed Gilbert, because Gilbert is too. I think Gilbert is too far on, with his takes that he just says stuff to get clicks. So I don't completely agree.
Yeah, I don't think that'll work.
The only reason I like that Gilbert dynamic is because you would have had the balance of LeBron and D-Wade to kind of pull him from the edge. Because you're right. If you don't have somebody to pull him from the edge, Gilbert is going to just run crazy.
That's why I think I don't think you're doing it, but if you're getting LeBron and Wade, then you might as well just make it a players only show and throw on like Chris Paul, Chris Bosh, like give the whole Banana Boat boys all. Throw them up there.
That's not a bad idea either. Not a bad idea either.
Stay on if you want, but there's a couple other people waiting. So let me throw them on here because we're running out of time. And I'm gonna move this so we can see y'all. Joa.
Hello. Can you hear me?
What up? Yeah.
Can you hear you? Hold on.
I got a question for you guys. And you guys got to see this player like throughout his entire career, and I've always wondered why he's such a disrespected player. Why do you guys think that John Stockton doesn't get nearly as much respect as a point guard than he should be?
Because he played.
Because he's white.
And he's white.
Because he's what? Chill.
Because he's white and he played in Utah. That's why.
That's why he doesn't get enough.
If he did what he did and he played in Atlanta, if he did what he did and he played in Boston, if he did what he did and he played in Los Angeles, we'd be talking about him way more than what we're talking about him right now. He's white and he played in Utah.
Well, Karl Malone doesn't seem to get as much disrespect as him.
I was gonna say I think him playing with Karl Malone also affects it, because a lot of the times it was a who I don't think either one, but who made who, right? Was it Karl Malone got all those points because John Stockton was passing him the ball, or did John Stockton get all those assists because he was passing it to Karl Malone?
Right.
So I think the fact, and this is wrong, but I think a lot of times when a great player plays with a great player,
right,
one of them, sometimes both, get knocked down because it's like, well, they played with each other. So I think that plays a role too, as Malone.
Yep. Even though it's ridiculous to think, excuse me, which makes me nuts when I hear this, the fact that he had Karl Malone, like he was only passing the ball to Malone. So those 15,000 assists that he got, that was to Malone. That was it. He wasn't passing the ball to nobody else. Like he didn't have an all-star Jeff Malone on his team. He didn't have Brian Russell on his team. He didn't have Thurl Bailey on the team. He didn't have a great big man, a great defensive player, and Mark Eaton on his team. He didn't have a sharpshooter and Jeff Hornacek on his team. He didn't have those guys on his team. All those assists, he was just throwing the ball to Malone. That was it. That's just not what was going on. It was.
One of the biggest things that I've noticed is that he also gets points deducted off of him for making the easy pass, the simple pass, which is nuts to me. Like you'd expect you to get more points, as a matter of fact, for making the simple pass, for making the pass that actually is efficient. But it seems like apparently he has to make these crazy flashy passes that Steve Nash and Rondo were making for him to get that kind of recognition.
People fall in love with the flashy pass. They like, I see highlights of and I'm not knocking Jason Williams, but you see highlights of Jason Williams all the time. Look how great he was. And with all due respect, he's not that great in terms of an NBA player. Yes, he made phenomenal passes. He had eyes all around his head, not just in the back of his head, but he's a 10-5 guy. He's not that guy. And I think, to your point, there's a great player. This guy considers him the greatest of all time, who says, and he's proud of the fact that I always make the right play. Yet John Stockton, more times than not, always made the right play. Look at his turnovers to his assists for his career. And to your point, you're right. They knock it. The other thing is, a lot of those passes weren't easy. He just made them look easy. If you go back and watch it in real speed,
full court pass is not easy to do.
Bounce pass through two guys, like threading the needle, that he made it look easy. Go try it. It's not an easy pass. So
just listen to guys talk about him. I mean, I heard Baron Davis say Stockton made me think that I couldn't play. John Stockton had me thinking that, am I sorry? I don't know if I can play. That's how good he was. I mean, and this is just some of the stuff that we talk about with John Stockton. So, Tone knows this, how I feel about Stockton. Like, you can't really talk.
I got one more question for you guys. If you guys could take the 90s decade, so the best players from the 90s, and we pit them up against, this is the best players from the 90s, and we're pitting them up against the best players of the 2010s. So like Team USA versus Team World. The best players up against each other. Who comes out on top on a 7-game series? Best of seven.
The problem that I have with this kind of stuff is it's like computer software. So if I take Windows 98 and I bring it into 2020, is it the same Windows 98 or is the software updated? Because if it's the same Windows 98, then it's probably not going to be able to compete with the software today because it can't do what the software does today. But if you're giving me Windows 98 and you're telling me that I can update the software, like I can update Hakeem Olajuwon, I can update Scottie Pippen, I can update Michael Jordan. I can update Charles Barkley into what these guys are doing today, where I can give him the ability. I can give Charles Barkley the ability, who, by the way, Tone, if I'm not mistaken, who is the worst three-point shooter in NBA history?
With 1,500 or more attempts, it is Charles Barkley. He loved missing those threes.
Exactly. So now I'm gonna give Charles the ability to shoot the long ball now. That's what I'm gonna do. So now if I'm upgrading him, right? If I'm upgrading him and I'm upgrading everybody else, and we got to put in like what kind of rules are we playing with? Stuff like that.
So that's my bigger thing. I'm less concerned, and Bill, you're up next. I'm less concerned with them having the ability to do things, with 20 more years of experience. I'm more concerned with what rules are we playing with, because if we're playing where you can't touch them and it's zone, I think a lot of those guys are gonna you give Olajuwon freedom, you give Charles Barkley, who was incredible on the break, where you can't touch him, you give Jordan no hand checking. They might be even scarier, right?
Oh, can you imagine not being able to put hands on Michael Jordan?
Hold on. Now, that being said, if we play in the 90s era rules, and now I'm giving LeBron the ability to put a hand up in you.
Oh, boy.
Well, hold on. Now that becomes a scarier defender too. Right. So it works both ways. Right. So that's why I think that's one of the things too is will they know how to play that way? Like look at FIBA in the summer. The guys the USA team had a really hard time dealing with hand checking because they're just not used to it. And if you put your hand, this is the simplest way I can explain it. If you allow me, and I know how to do it properly, to put my left hand up on your right side and force you left, at some point, if you're a right-handed player, even if you can dribble incredibly with your left, at some point you're going to have to come back to your right to shoot. Unless you're going to shoot it with your left, go ahead. And when you do that, my hand's there. You have a really hard time getting that shot off, and people don't realize that. You always, if you're right-handed, you're always, no matter how good you are with your left, you're always going to come back to shoot with your right. It takes time to figure out how to navigate through that. So, if they don't have time, I would say the 90s team wins if you're playing with 90s rules, because 7 games isn't enough. But if you're playing in today's rules, well, shit, they're going to shoot 53s, and if they make them, they're going to blow them out. If they miss them, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
So it depends mostly on the rules that they play by.
But
Yep.
Well, all right, you guys have a good one.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Bill.
What up?
What's up, guys?
What
How
up?
y'all doing?
Good.
It's Leaf and then Andre.
First of all, I just want to.
Let me just quickly say, Leaf, stop trying to hijack the live. Okay, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
First of all, I just want to give you guys your flowers. Thank you guys for everything that y'all do. Thank you for the entertainment. Love y'all.
Oh, thanks,
so I'm a Mavs fan, and last night, man, that just crushed me. Like it was soul wrenching. I just want to hear you guys thoughts and opinions on the Mavs series. I know Chill has said that he still has the Mavs winning. I don't know if I've heard what your thoughts are on the series yet, Fluent, but I kind of just wanted to hear you guys' thoughts. And do you think the Mavs can win this series? And if so, what will it take?
The Mavs. I'll start since you heard him, and then you can finish it off, Chill. I think. Listen, I picked OKC, a bit of a SGA Lou Dort situation though. Being from Canada, I want to see that young team do well. That being said, can they win? Yes. What will it take? It's actually not that easy. Not that hard. What they need is Kyrie Irving to play like Kyrie Irving. I don't know what happened to him yesterday. He looked like he was okay in the first half. Him and Luka. Now Luka's battling injury, but they look terrible in the second half. They both can't play like that. So I got to deal with someone here that needs to be banned.
I got him, Tone.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got him.
But sorry, that threw me off as I was trying to kick him out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I think is Kyrie just has to play like Kyrie. Like if Luka and Kyrie play the way that they've been playing all season, they win that game last night. They would have won that game. So yeah. That's all it was. Is I just think they both had a bad game at the wrong time.
Those missed free throws also hurt just really badly. Shooting 52% from the line, and yeah, Kyrie came out saying that he needs to empty the clip. and hasn't emptied the clip, which has kind of been the problem. He hasn't been that aggressive. I think he took like only 11 shots that game. PJ
Yeah,
Washington
I
took
think he had 9
19.
assists. Didn't he have like
Like-
9 assists in the first half? Like he's trying to play like traditional point guard, and sometimes now he's going to need to take it over. Yeah, 100%.
Someone said Jason Kidd is turning him into prime Jason Kidd.
That's funny. Probably pretty
But-
accurate.
But yeah, I hope we pull through. And I also had just one more question. So like that super star talk that you guys are talking about, is it possible to be a superstar in your first year? Like for example, like when Magic came into the league, won Finals MVP in his first year, were people calling him a superstar off rip? Or
he was awesome. He wasn't a superstar yet. He was on his way to being that.
And being the guy that was my team, that was my guy, that was everything to me. They didn't. They were knocking Magic. They were like, oh, that was because of Kareem. He had one good game. You know, he wasn't even the rookie of the year. Like they looked for everything to knock him. He had to prove that he could do it again and again. And that's why I say a superstar. Michael Jordan was not a superstar years 1, 2, and 3. He had to prove that not only could he put up the numbers, but that he could take his team deep into the playoffs. And those things matter for me as terms of being a superstar. And that's why I say, you know, when he says you can still be a superstar, you know, you're always a superstar. And I'm like, no, Jordan was not a superstar in Washington. Like his career, yes, he had a superstar career. But would you say Jordan was a superstar in Washington?
He still had that superstar tag. That's what it was.
Of course he had the tag.
Was he still a superstar player? Was he still playing at that level at 40 years old? No, he wasn't.
No, yeah.
But he definitely still had that superstar tag. People
he
still
still
saw him. People still saw him as Jordan.
The tag between the play.
People still saw him as Jordan. I think that was the difference. So,
all right, man. Appreciate it, Bill. Thank you.
all right, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
No problem.
All right.
What up?
What's up, hijacker?
What up?
Hijacker. I ain't hijack your page. Not yet, man. I ain't hijacking nothing. But
I see the links. I see the links.
You see the link. You see the links. That's what you see. All right. Yeah. But I'm gonna get right to it. Dallas. They fumbled at the 1 yard line. They pulled the Ernest Biner yesterday, right at the 1 yard line. That's what they pulled. That the 10 for 21 from the free throw line. That's despicable. Absolutely despicable. Whoever said that
at the 1 yard line. That's not fumbling at the 1 yard line. They was doing that all game though.
But
it's not like they were shooting great free throws and then at the end of the game Luka botched those. That's fumbling at the 1 yard line.
I mean, but the thing is that it led up to that. But I'm listen, fumbling at the 1 yard line. You giving a meaning to it. But my example is that if you had to leave for most of the game and then in the fourth quarter, you basically made mistakes and which led to you losing. That's fumbling at the 1 yard line. But the Denver Nuggets is winning the next 3 games. I don't give a damn what nobody say. They are winning the next 3 games. And
they only have to win 2.
Well, they guarantee winning the next 3. I don't care who they play.
They're winning the first game of the Western Conference Final too.
Yes, they are. They are winning the next 3 games guaranteed. And there ain't a damn thing anybody could do about it. They have figured out this Minnesota defense. It's basically chess versus they playing chess versus backgammon. I don't know what Minnesota's playing right now, man. Like listen, everything is out of sync. I think they have figured out the mole on this team, which is the second that you get caught, the second that you start isolating most of their defenders, specifically Towns and Rudy, with Aaron Gordon and Joker, like that, you pretty much got them, and that's pretty much what they did. Chilltown, I know you would like me to have a certain level of not fanness, bro, when I talk about the Eastern Conference, specifically with the Celtics and the Knicks.
Hold on, rewind. I just don't like how demonstrative you are about Minnesota, like they just getting mopped. I just don't think that's true. I don't. You don't have a defense like that and you just roll over, like they just gonna roll these dudes out of here. No, I don't think that that's the case. Role players play better at home. When they go back home to Minnesota, it's going to be a lot different. They're not just rolling these dudes like you think they are. Sure, that when they go back to Denver, when they go to Denver, when they're going to be where they already won this season twice, there's no reason for me to think that we can't go back there and do it again. The idea that I understand where Denver is with their guys. They have to make adjustments. One of the adjustments that they have to make is the same thing that Dallas did with the same thing that Oklahoma City has to do with Dallas. We can't just leave PJ Washington open all night. You have to respect Aaron Gordon more. If you're just going to let Aaron Gordon shoot wide open jump shots, Leap, I don't know if you noticed, over the last 3 games, Aaron Gordon is shooting almost 80% on the long ball. He's shooting almost 80% on long ball because he's wide open. We got to change that. We have to gain rebound more. The physicality, I can definitely get with that. And Denver definitely is more physical. But the idea that they're just going to roll over these dudes, like this series is over, let's chill out, yo.
But I'll say this. When was the last time Denver lost two games at home in a row? Do you know?
Well, I can't. In the playoffs or period?
In the playoffs. In the playoffs, not including this series. It's been years, right?
It probably was the last time they got eliminated by a Western Conference team, which was in the first round.
So now you think they're gonna lose 3 at home? So I'm thinking Denver tonight.
You thinking after what they just pulled off in the last 2 games, they gonna win it? They gonna lose another game at home? That's what you think?
Yes,
no, he does. I don't. I'm saying I'm picking Denver. I'm picking Denver to win Game 5. Minnesota, so they get their home win. Minnesota to win at home Game 6. And this series goes 7. Now, I'm going to stick, because I picked Minnesota at the beginning of the playoffs. So I'm going to stick with Minnesota, but Denver's looking more and more like the team. Like I said, I think Denver's winning tonight, and then Minnesota wins at home in Game 6. And this has become a 7-game series, which is what we want. I want every series to go 7. Love it.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't mind for this series to go 7, but like I see a whole bunch of things in this series that's not making me believe that it's going to go 7. Chilltown, you told me time and time again about Cat in the playoffs. Time and time again, you've told me about him, bro. And time again, I've been inclined to believe you, because now we're seeing the true version of Karl Anthony Towns in these last 2 games. In terms of the fouls and them being able to isolate.
He wasn't that bad in Game 3.
He wasn't that bad in Game 3, but he still got outplayed.
Yeah, I'll give you Game 3. I'll give you Game 4. He was bad in Game 4. Yes.
Yeah. So my thing is if a team that understands how to switch things up and turn on that switch, like Denver does, man. Like Karl Anthony Towns is basically somewhat compromised in this series just based off of that. My thing is like we seen the true versatility of this Denver Nuggets team in these last 2 games. I said it to you a week ago. They have not played their best basketball. They was toying with the Lakers. They was toying with them, and they screwed around in the first 2 games, and then they got that wake up call. And then they basically got that wake up call, and they was down 2-0 going on the road. How many teams could be down 2-0 going on the road and then win 2 on the road and they get back in the series?
What have they done?
2019 Raptors did it, so it's not that impressive to me.
Well, not only that,
that's a championship team, ain't it?
It is,
right?
Yeah.
But not only that, and we are dealing with the defending NBA champions. But with that also being said, what about Denver in terms of matching their physicality? Outside of that, what else did they do that was different?
What they did was they spaced everybody apart.
They've always done that. They've always played with space. Always.
Yeah. No, I know. But the difference is that they made sure that nobody was like, if anybody comes in the vicinity to help, now you got KCP on the wing. You got who else? You got Murray on the wing.
KCP, Michael Porter Jr.
You got MPJ all out of the way, bro. Like now, J-Mac is starting to pick up other guys, and he's picking up ticky-tack fouls. So like once he get in that point where he get like 3 fouls before the half, you put him in a box. And now you basically asking guys like Cat or guys like Rudy to be one-on-one defenders when they're realistically they're not that. Rudy is really the anchor. When he has to play one-on-one defense and there's no help and there's no J-Mac and there's no Towns, bro, to come over and help him or come in and help with the rebounds, they basically compromised as one-on-one defenders.
I hate this logic. I hate it. Wow. That's just not true. He's going up against Joker. He's going up against Joker. I've seen him his ability to switch. I've seen his ability on the perimeter to close out. I've seen his ability as a one-on-one defender. You're basing this off the best player on the planet. That's what you're basing this off, Lee. And that's bullshit. Because that's just not true. I'm sorry, Tone, but I'm sorry, Tone.
This is not the panel. This is not the panel.
I'm sorry, Tone. This Rudy Gobert disrespect, it boils me, man. Because he's so much better as a one-on-one defender than you give him credit for. And I'm sick of hearing that. The reason why the Minnesota Timberwolves are as good as they are as a team defensively is because of him. It's not because of everybody else.
I agree with you.
Because of him.
I
he's
agree
going
with
up
you,
against
but
the best player on the planet. That's what he's going up against. Stop talking about him like he's going up against, I don't know, Claxton. Stop talking about him like he's going up against Robert Williams, because he's not. He's going up against Olajuwon. He's going up against Jabbar right now. I'm sorry if I can't cover him by myself. I'm sorry if I'm having trouble dealing with him by myself.
That's
sorry.
That's what I'm Tailtown. That's what I'm trying to get at. The thing is, in this series, bro, like before you blow a gasket, in this series,
man.
Joker is smart enough to figure out how to get the best of him, bro. It just is what it is, bro. Like, so the thing is, he's such a smart player, and I think we had this topic the other night when I basically tried to put Luka and Joker on the same page in terms of their IQ. I think Joker's IQ is so separate from everybody else offensively that he just knows how to pick defenses apart.
You didn't.
And
say
I think
a couple of nights ago, you said those two guys were one and the same. That's what you said.
I did. I said I think they one and the same in terms of the playmaking.
I'm the one who said that they're separated in terms.
They're separated.
Yeah.
You did say they were separated.
Now you got to hold on a second because we're over time, and there's other shows that have to start at 10.
My bad.
Andre's been waiting very patiently, so we're gonna bring Andre on. Andre, how you doing?
What's going on? Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here. A couple things have been mentioned, right? And I know we got rapid fire. The slander for Coach Tom Thibodeau. We've been keeping receipts. There are receipts that have been kept in terms of how people were slandering Thibodeau, talking about, he make people show up to work. All these minutes he's playing.
Imagine that.
He's running
Imagine that,
ground.
Imagine that. Imagine making somebody come to work. Imagine that.
Having them work. Imagine you play basketball 3-4 days for a living, like Charles Barkley says, and I ask you to get out there. We got basketball players. Okay, Fluent, you're a basketball player. Once you get moving, once you get going, who wants to sit down? I'm feeling good. I'm hot. Put me in the game, coach. Let me cook.
Don't take me out, yo.
All I'm saying, I know we're coming
Especially when
down
I've hit it
time.
in a row. Oh, take me out of the game.
The Garden is rocking right now. The Garden is rocking, and we done kept receipts because a lot of people, and by the way, coming from the Tibbs is my coach. Tibbs is my coach going back to 2007 when they should have never gotten rid of Van Gundy. Good coach for the Rockets, but they did that dirtiness. What did Danny Ainge do? Danny Ainge, okay, got it up here. He went down and scooped Tom Thibodeau up to come to Boston to be the associate head coach. What happened in 2008? Kevin Garnett got his one and only Defensive Player of the Year award, and the Celtics stormed to the championship. Okay, so ever since then, because I'm live in Massachusetts, but I'm from New Jersey. So and then growing up in New York, Knicks was my
Jersey
team.
in the house.
You know what I mean? Born in Summit, New Jersey. Shout out to Central Jersey. Shout out to St. Anthony's.
I'm from North Jersey. I went to St. Anthony High School.
Okay. Shout out to St. Anthony's and St. Benedict's and St. Pat's.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to all. And I know the show, we only got a little bit of time, so I got to get a couple of points. I'm not trying to dominate.
Yeah, we're minus 3 minutes, but go ahead.
Minus. Listen, another caller came in. This dovetails with my Tibbs love. We need more respect for John Stockton, all-time great point guard. How many games did this man miss in his entire career? 19 seasons in the NBA. How many games did he miss? I'm going to tell you. Man missed 22 games in 19 seasons. He played every single doggone game for 17 seasons. Every single doggone game, 17 seasons. He missed 18 games in 98 when they went to the finals and lost to Jordan. Then he missed 4 games in 91. This load management junk science foolishness that people slander my man Tibbs for, I despise it. And the caller that came in with respect for John Stockton. Now, cut me off at any time. He's not as good as Isaiah Thomas. The Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan feud, it's never going to end. And that's what Charles Barkley was talking about on Club Shay Shay. Isaiah's still mad, but the reason you weren't on that dream team is because of Michael. You should have been there talent-wise. Pound for pound, Isaiah's better. But all time, nobody's breaking John Stockton's assist record. Nobody. Nobody's breaking John Stockton's steals record. Nobody. Okay? And that has to do with his longevity and his consistency. He needs a little bit more respect in the all-time conversation. Tony, I'm not going to take too much of your time up beyond this. We need more respect on Tibbs' name, and the Knicks are taking this serious.
We appreciate
We
you.
can't get past Boston. Can't get past.
Absolutely,
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Hey, appreciate you, Andre. And that's why Andre from Sand City Sports, that is another show that we are going to be adding to the Sports Fluent channel because you get good stuff like that. I know who you are, Andre. Don't think I didn't know Sand City Sports in the house. We're supposed to go Nick, if 30 seconds, Nick. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30
All right,
seconds.
Fluent, real quick. Bears come up season, real quick. That's all I got to say.
They're going to ruin Caleb Williams just like they did.
DJ Moore going to be top 5 in receiving yards this year. I don't know. 3 playoff teams out the NFC North this year. Lions, Packers, and Bears going to make the playoffs. As far as the NBA, I'm gonna go. I'm going OKC, Boston, NBA Finals.
OKC, Boston. Okay.
OKC, Boston.
I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna Bears. The Bears. I'm with you. I'm sticking with Minnesota. And
Hey, Kevin
Boston.
Byard to replace Eddie Jackson was an upgrade. So you know what I mean.
I like
got
Eddie
everyone
Jackson.
else back
I like
defensively.
Eddie Jackson though. But Nick, man, come back next week because we got to go.
No
Tony, I don't know if you see
No
Tony.
doubt. Chill knows. I'd love to chop it up with you guys sometime.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah,
for sure. Much love.
All right, appreciate you. Woo, action packed at the end. That was fantastic. Fluent and Chill, as always, in the building. Haley will be back soon. Don't get too worried. Stick around, Sports Fluent YouTube. Hoop Storians are next. Final words, sir.
Put on a suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive. A couple of days ago was Mother's Day. Did you call your mother? Call your mother. We will see you guys soon. But until then, take it light. But also, subscribe.
No. Look at that. Look at that shirt. It says "Call your mother."
You see it? It says "Call your mother."
So you don't forget.
Yes, call your mother. Absolutely. We will see you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely, man. Good to see you guys.
Fibonacci, baby.